Hello everybody, thank you for joining me again on another, which this one is essential, a care video for Melanochrysum and verrucosum. And this is the verrucosum that inspired this video. Sorry for the wrong way that I filmed it, but I was kind of in a rush just to quickly show you. This verrucosum I planted in the beginning of spring, which was like 6 months ago, and it has taken off really well. So my care for a Melanochrysum and verrucosum is take them out, plant them in the garden, water them, and they will do really well. That's the end of the care video. This is just some pretty bromelias, and let me show you. There is where I'm going to plant the verrucosum and Melanochrysum. Okay, I didn't plant the palm and I didn't plant the yellow wood that's standing next to it. I did plant the tree aloe, the one on the right, and the Terminalia. It used to be called the Bomboensis, it's now called something else. Anyway, this is a verrucosum I'm going to plant there. It's got 2 growth points, and this is the Melanochrysum. It's really grown long and lanky, so I'm just going to take it and also put it in there. The one against the palm and the other one against the tree. In retrospect, I have another Melanochrysum and I should have put 2 in there, but that's fine. Story for another day, and I'm sure you didn't want to see me digging a hole. Well, digging 2 holes. There they are. And now I can plant them. I'm just going to reposition you guys so that you can see clearly and I have a free hand. Keep in mind that we actually have just started winter. But this is the subtropical lowveld in White River in South Africa. We don't get frost. These plants were standing outside already, so they have been acclimated to the outside temperatures. And I was kind of worried in the beginning at some point, like, oh hell, this is the wrong time to plant it. But they've been standing outside already for a year or so, and they've been happy. They can cope with the temperatures. I've put a pot extender on this Melano just so that it could be activate more roots further up in the node. So when I'm just taking that off, quite easy, and then just going to take it out of the pot. I'm quite surprised and disappointed that this Melano doesn't really have a lot of roots. The pot was quite big for the size of the plant. So maybe that was it. I see, you can see the roots there. There's not a whole lot of them, but I'm going to put that there so that it can grow up into the tree. And then the verrucosum I'm going to plant against the palm. I actually wouldn't mind if they sprout more growth points and sort of get a mix up between the two, so both of them can grow up the palm or either the Terminalia. The Terminalia is actually a very nice tree. The bark, you'll see further on in a close-up, looks really nice. I'm just going to close it up here, make sure that that's planted, and just so that you can see, when I go take the plant to the hole, I climb over a climber. In summer, I've taken a lot of pictures of it, but the pictures never really look nice. In summer, I'm going to do a whole program or a whole video about that creeper. I found it here when I bought the property, and the previous owner said to me, "Do you know what that is?" And I said, "Yeah, it's a red flag bush." And she said, "No, it is. No, it is not." And she gave me the name, and I thought, okay, yeah, whatever. I am going to look it up in, this was 20 years ago, one of the books that I have, and I'm sure it will be in there. Even my botanist friend could never tell me what it was. He also said flagbush, and no, it's not. It's a creeper. Flagbush is not a creeper. Anyway, cut a long story short, that's a video for summer. Here's the verrucosum. It's got a grow pearl on it. That's why I decided to put it against the palm. I don't know if the roots are going to be that effective to cling onto the palm. As I said, I didn't plant the palm there. It was a hitchhiker when I planted the tree. So obviously there was a seed somewhere in there, and it came up at some point, and now it's actually quite big, a royal palm. You know what? It's not in a totally wrong position. I don't know that the two of them standing that close together are going to survive. So we'll see in the next 10 or 20 or 30 years how these two are going to cope so close together. So I'm just leaning the verrucosum against the palm, and then I'm going to close the hole, and then I'm going to put some mulch on it. I've said this before, and I said this again. Somebody said to me, one of my guests were overheard saying, "What magic does this man possess that the stuff grows so well?" You're going to see what it is. It's mulch. And when you mulch, please don't mulch with, well, you can if you really want to, with inorganic stuff or rocks or whatever. Anything organic is going to help your soil. I was actually at the end of this video, I'm going to show you quickly the last piece of lawn that I mowed this year. And there is one of the gingers that I planted next to a compost heap. The first year it didn't do well, and my Lord, yesterday when I was mowing the lawn there, it is just humongous. So obviously the food from the compost heap, eventually it reached that. Just quickly watering it in. You just want to make sure, when I plant it, I don't stand on or try and compact the soil. What I do is just water it in. That you have to make sure that there's no air pockets trapped around the roots. I know that in pot plants you have to have aeration. That's not how it works when you plant it in soil. You have to make sure that there's no air pockets, because if there's air pockets, the roots are going to dry out, because the soil or the medium, or the ground that you plant it in, is going to dry out, and if there's air pockets, the roots are going to die. So always make sure when you plant something to water it in well. The problem is when you sort of try and compact it, you stand a chance to break the roots, especially if it has really thin and flimsy roots. So as long as you water it in well, then you shouldn't have a problem. You'll see the soil just settles in. And it is a little bit dry at the moment. We haven't had rain for a month. So what I'm also going to have to remember here is to make sure that I water it like maybe once. I think once a week is going to be too much, maybe once every 2 weeks. I'll just monitor it and have a look. Yes, it can become dry, but it shouldn't totally dry out, because that is just going to damage the growth of the plant. You see, now also you're probably not really going to see any vegetative growth now in winter, but it now gives the plant chance to establish a good root system, so that the roots get used to growing in the soil. It's looking for nutrients, so when summer comes, then the roots are fairly established and the plant can immediately start growing. You should usually do this in spring, but because these plants were standing outside already, they are used to being, outside. There I'm bringing a little bit of mulch. That's embarrassing little, but this is just a little bit of mulch that was left over when I did some mulching a couple of weeks ago. In the previous video where I showed you, I mulched the leaves and stuff next to the compost heap. I've still got quite a bit of mulch left there, so I'm going to go take that mulch and then just put it on the plants. Also, the mulch, remember, even maybe if you do get a particularly cold spell, remember we don't get frost, so when I say cold, it's like relative, is the mulch act like a blanket so that the soil, the substrate, does not get very cold. This is just to show you there. I've planted it, and you can see there's still a lot of soil exposed, but it's leaning nicely against the palm. I haven't yet put the other mulch on, and that little bit of mulch is really not going to make a big difference. I've kind of hooked the Milano there against one of the, behind one of the branches of the other creeper. Really pretty. I'm looking forward to this to grow quite big. So it's going to be quite spectacular. Okay, let me just go and get more mulch and then I'll show you what it looked like. There I've put it on. As you can see, that's quite a thick blanket. It's like 20-30 centimeters deep in mulch now. And also what the mulch is going to do, it's kind of mixed with some of the compost as well, is it will immediately start feeding the soil. It's going to keep the moisture in. That's why I say, you know, I don't think once a week watering it is going to be too much. So I'll keep an eye on it. This is the lawn, the last piece of lawn that I still have to mow, and you can see it's quite untidy-ish, and there's quite a lot of weeds that grow in it. I like to let the lawn grow quite long before I mow it, and again, this is the last time I mow it now for the season. I'll only mow it now again in maybe early September, and it's done. And you can see I do not pick up the lawn cuttings. My lawnmower doesn't even have a bucket or anything to pick it up. I leave it where it is because that's where I feed the earthworms that's in the soil, and the earthworms converted in earthworm castings, and that's why the grass grows, well, everything in this garden grows so well. It looks a little bit better. Look, if you're gonna do a garden show, yes, sure, clean it up, make it look nice. Or if you have a function or anything, yes, do it. But just for that, no. This is the other piece that I mowed a couple of days ago. This is just to quickly show you. And we're now getting to the end of it. Palms are nice, but now look at this. When these leaves fall down, it just demolishes everything. So anyway, we still have a lot of work to do on this side of the garden. And if you watched all the way here, yeah, it's that palm's leaf that came down. Imagine something falling from that height. Thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe. It's slowly but surely I'm getting more and more subscribers. See, this on the right I have to redo. That's going to be a lot of work. And then I'll do a video about bromelias. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining me. And I will see you on the next video. Have a great time. Goodbye.